Chapter 737. They had completely lost their minds. Yin Haoyan easily sent out a sword strike and dealt with this crazy person. In the time it took to drink a cup of tea, more than half of the 32 elders were gone. The faces of the remaining people were also extremely ugly. They all knew that all of this was caused by the sound of the woman's zither, but there was nothing he could do. Among them, Elder Qi, who had the highest cultivation among them, had bloodshot eyes. Unable to hold it in any longer, he roared and soared into the sky. "Demoness, I'll kill you first. Let's see how arrogant you can be then." His cultivation was extremely high. In the Tiandao sect, it could be said that he was second only to the sect leader, Wang Qingming. He had just witnessed Wang Qingming's death, but he didn't think it was because of this woman's ability. It was just that this woman's methods were sinister and she appeared and disappeared unpredictably, which was why sect leader Wang had fallen into her trap. He didn't believe that he couldn't kill a little girl who was still wet behind the ears. As for those heaven rank and innate rankers, he didn't care about them at all. As expected, if Elder Qi wanted to leave, Bai Yiqin and Yin Haoyan would not be able to stop him. Even the drawing ground prison was broken after he paid a small price. In the blink of an eye, Elder Qi had already soared into the air and stood on the broken stone door. His body was filled with killing intent. "Demoness, I'd like to see who else can save you now. Die." The long sword in his hand gathers 100% of his internal force and fiercely slashes towards Mayan. The sword light whistled, but the girl playing the zither on the opposite side raised the corner of her mouth and showed him a sarcastic smile. In the next moment, the same sword light whizzed by and split his sword chi. A small figure appeared in front of Mu Yin, holding a long sword that was even taller than his small body. The imposing manner of his body was like the pressure of a mountain, almost suffocating. It was that little boy. Xiaobao looked at Elder Qi coldly. "Old dog, have you asked for my permission before touching my mother?" Mu Yin also chuckled behind Xiaobao. "Old dog, if you want to touch me, have you asked my precious son?" Elder Qi. Why did he suddenly have the urge to vomit blood? Who are you calling an old dog? Xiaobao. Tiandao sect is full of old dogs. Bad old dog. In the night sky, two figures, one big and one small, quickly fought. Initially, Elder Qi thought that no matter how talented a brat was, he would be able to destroy him with a wave of his hand. So, even when he was pierced through the chest by Little Bao's sword and fell from the sky, he still didn't understand. How did he lose? It would have been fine if he had lost to Jun Mayan, but why would he lose to a child? Why was that so? With a loud thud, Elder Qi's corpse fell to the ground, completely mutilated. Tears of blood flowed from his wide-open eyes. Elder Qi's death was like a signal, causing everyone in the Tiandao sect to panic. Even the remaining elders who were still alive were dumbfounded at this moment. Elder Qi, who had the highest cultivation among them, was also dead? Would they be spared? The sound of this demoness zither seemed to have a magical power, making them feel as if they were walking step by step towards the abyss of death. Clang! No one knew who was the first to throw away his sword. Soon after, the second and third disciples of the Tiandao sect threw away their swords and knelt on the ground, voluntarily becoming the captives of the Nether Flame army. In the end, not a single Tiandao sect disciple was left standing on the plaza. Chapter 738. Their facial muscles are twitching and trembling. Their eyes are filled with unwillingness. They were clearly the high and mighty elders of the Tiandao sect, but in a single night, they had actually become the prisoners of a woman. How could they accept such a huge difference in status? But what can they do? Do they want to die like the sect leader and Elder Qi? The elder's legs bend, wanting to kneel down. Just then, a furious roar comes from the horizon. "Slut! How dare you behave atrociously in my Tiandao sect? Do you really think there's no one in my Tiandao sect?" "Ancestor, it's the ancestor." Hearing this roar, the elders of the Tiandao sect can be said to be crying with joy. But before they can run to their savior in surprise, Mu Yin suddenly jumps down from midair and lands in front of them. Not waiting for these elders to react, Mayan stretches out her hand, and a rope as flexible as a snake flies out. Caught off guard, and with their almost exhausted internal force, they're more or less tied up. It's unknown what this rope is made of, but it seems to have a life of its own. After being tied up, the more they struggle, the tighter they are tied up, and the more they struggle, the more powerless they feel. Mu Yin claps her hands and says with satisfaction, "That scum Zhao Hai left something useful." That's right. This rope is the spirit locking rope that Zhao Hai used to tie up Feng Haidang and Yin Haoyin. Mu Yin feels that this rope is more practical, so she put it away after killing Zhao Hai. Because the spirit locking rope can only be driven by spiritual power, and it can only tie up people who are mentally exhausted and have low cultivation, Mu Yin rarely uses it. But this time, these elders are physically and mentally exhausted after the battle, and their will is weak, so it just comes in handy. "Miss, the ancestor of the Tiandao sect is here." Ru Yin whispers in Mu Yan's ear. "I heard that the ancestor of the Tiandao sect has lived for hundreds of years, and his strength is unfathomable. You must be careful." Mu Yin nods. "Take the prisoners of the Tiandao sect, and all of you withdraw." Ru Yin stares blankly, knowing that Mu Yin wants her to deal with the ancestor. She conveys Mu Yan's order, and no one has any objections. Because no one knows better than them how powerful the Miss is. He was a person who could change the situation of the world with his own strength. Although old ancestor Chang Yong's voice was transmitted through profound energy, his position was at the back of the ostentatious mountain, so it would take him some time to rush over. Thus, when he arrived at the Tiandao sect's encampment, his eyes were already in ruins, and corpses were strewn everywhere. His Tiandao sect, his disciples and grand disciples, their Tiandao sect's thousand-year glory, destroyed. All destroyed. Chang Yong suddenly glared at the only girl who hadn't left. Dressed in white, she stood under the night sky in a pool of blood. Corpses were piled up below, but her smile was languid and holy like snow. She was like a fairy from the ninth heaven who had mistakenly fallen into the mortal world. That pair of pitch-black eyes landed on Chang Yong. Even in the dark night, Chang Yong could see the clear and serene luster in those eyes. Chang Yong's heart skipped a beat. This girl made him feel uneasy and fearful. But very soon, the anger over the destruction of their sect and the desire to ascend to the cultivation continent overwhelmed their fear. Junmayan, this old man really miscalculated a move, so I paid a painful price. I've really underestimated you. The expression on Chang Yong's face is completely distorted. He is thoroughly infuriated by Mayan. The battle lasted from midnight to dusk. The entire Tiandao sect was completely razed to the ground. Even half of Beckoning Mountain was riddled with holes by these two people's attacks. Mu Yin did not expect that although this old fart Chang Yong's cultivation was not high, his true strength was much better than that trash Zhao Hai. This battle lasted for several hours. Whether it was the profound energy or the spiritual energy in her body, they were almost completely exhausted. But Mu Yin only feels satisfied and carefree. It had been a long time since she had had such a good fight. Seeing that you've made me happy, I'll send you to your death in peace. Zheng. The sound of a zither suddenly resounds in the night sky. At this time, Chang Yong is even more exhausted than Mu Yin, like an arrow at the end of its flight. Chapter 740. But in the end, it's still a step too late. The 6 swords that had been surrounding him and constantly attacking and disturbing him suddenly retreated, and Mayan's figure had appeared in front of him at some point. The 6 swords whistled, turned into light, and drilled into the sword in Mayan's hand. 7 swords become one. Chijue's sword spirit, second form. Silently, there's no sound of the blade piercing into the flesh, no whistling blade piercing through the air. Chang Yong suddenly feels a pain in his chest, and his vitality drains away at a rapid speed. He blankly lowers his head and looks at the transparent sword that has pierced his chest, then slowly falls down. Tiandao sect's old ancestor Chang Yong, dead. Miss won. We won. Ha ha ha, our Nether Flame Army won. We really destroyed Tiandao sect. From now on, our Nether Flame Valley is the boss of Yinwu continent. Whoever dares to disobey, we'll beat them until they look for their mothers. At the foot of the mountain, the Nether Flame Army rushes up in a dense crowd. Everyone is more or less injured, but everyone has an excited and confident smile on their faces. The corner of Mayan's mouth hooks up into a shallow arc, disdainful and ostentatious. Yes, they won. Tiandao sect no longer exists from now on. Her body shakes, and the spiritual power and internal force within her body are exhausted. She quickly inserts the Chiju's sword into the ground to stabilize her figure. However, his tottering body was quickly pulled into a warm embrace. A familiar breath hits her. Deming Ju doesn't speak, just quietly hugs her. Mayan suddenly doesn't want to speak, doesn't want to move, and just leans in his arms like that. Even if it's the end of the world, it doesn't matter. The first ray of sunlight shines from the east, and it falls on Mayan and Deming Ju. Under the morning light, the man and woman embracing each other are as beautiful as a painting, unforgettable as long as one sees it. And all the people in the Nether Flame Army who see this scene will forever imprint this scene in their minds, because this is the beginning of their Nether Flame Army's hegemony, and also the prelude to letting the world know the existence of the Nether Flame Army. If overbearingly overthrowing all the forces that are not pleasing to the eye, beating them until they cry for their parents, is also considered hegemony. If overbearingly getting rid of all the forces that were not pleasing to the eye, beating them up until they cried for their parents, could be counted as hegemony. At this moment, there is only one thought in the minds of everyone in the Nether Flame Army. Tiandao sect was destroyed in their hands. From now on, no one in the Yinwu continent will be able to contend with their Nether Flame Army. To be able to follow Miss, follow Little Master, and become a part of the Nether Flame Army, it was really great. Miss, there is no sign of Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng anywhere. This subordinate has also asked the disciples and elders of the Heavenly Road sect. They don't know where they went. Miss, we also went to Jianfeng's medicine hut to search, but we couldn't find any trace of them. Mu Yin slightly narrowed her eyes as she listened to the report from the Heavenly Secret Battalion. In this attack on Tiandao sect, the only thing that made her unhappy and unexpected was that Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng ran away. On the night when the Nether Flame Army launched their attack, the two of them should have been at the Tiandao sect. However, after the battle began, the two of them disappeared without a trace. Mu Yin suspected that they used the teleportation token to teleport away when the situation was not good. Otherwise, all the entrances to Tiandao sect would have been sealed by her people. No one would be able to escape from these two people. Miss, do we need to search the entire Swaggering Mountain? Chapter 741. If they want to hide, then hide well. It's also time to let them have a taste of being detested by street rats, being chased and beaten by everyone. Miss, what do you mean? Mayan sneers, sort out all the evil deeds that Tiandao sect and Gong Qinxue have done these past few years, and announce it to the world. Then, in the name of Hellflame Valley, issue a worldwide kill order. Anyone who provides the whereabouts of Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng will be rewarded with a bottle of special drafts. Anyone who captures Jianfeng will be rewarded with a bottle of special elixir. Anyone who captures Gong Qinxue, in the name of the Enchantress Mayan, I will not only give him a bottle of elixir, but also guarantee that he will have the priority to purchase the special drafts and elixirs sold in the Ghost City every month. Ruyin can't help but laugh when she hears that. This is great. Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng will really become detested by street rats. They won't be able to stay in this Yinwu continent anymore. I don't know how long they, who are used to living a life of luxury, can endure this kind of life. Half a month later, there is continuous heavy rain. The temperature in the land north of the Yinwu continent's long river plummets. In a dilapidated temple, a haggard Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng are carefully hiding. Gong Qinshue's head pokes out from time to time. Senior brother, will the person you said really come? Jianfeng grits his teeth and nods. Don't worry, that person has received my kindness. He definitely won't betray me. However, after the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, what he waits for isn't the person who will repay his kindness, but a large group of high-level practitioners besieging him. You actually dare to be ungrateful? Yufeng, have you forgotten my kindness to you back then? Jianfeng's eyes are bloodshot, fiercely glaring at an obese man not far away. The man sneered, wiped the rain off his face, and said with a sneer, "Kindness? Don't joke around. I spent a lot of money to buy that elixir of yours back then. What kind of kindness is that? What's more, that elixir of yours is nothing more than a broken toy. How can it be compared to the special elixirs refined by the Enchantress doctor? As long as I can hand you two over, not only can I get 2 bottles of special elixirs from the Enchantress doctor, I can also have the right to purchase all kinds of special drafts in the Ghost City. Ha ha ha. I've also heard that the Nether Flame Army is currently recruiting. If I tie you up and send you to the Enchantress of Heaven, I might even be able to become a member of the Nether Flame Army. Who wouldn't want to encounter such a good thing? Jinfeng, don't blame me. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for having eyes but failing to see. You actually conspired with Gong Qianxue, this vicious woman. In just half a month, the news that the Heavenly Road sect has been annihilated by the Nether Flame Army has spread throughout the entire Yanwu continent. In this half a month, it wasn't that there weren't any survivors of the Tiandao sect who wanted to retaliate, and it wasn't that there weren't any other forces who wanted to take advantage of the situation. However, without exception, all of them were swept clean by the Nether Flame Army like a gale sweeping away fallen leaves. And in this half a month, if one were to say who was more famous than the Nether Flame Army, that would be the Enchantress Junmayan and her son, Junmachan. A Khanate perfected who wasn't even 20 years old, had superb medical skills, and the elixirs that he refined were unparalleled in the world. The Nether Flame Army that he created was invincible. A 5-year-old Xiantian realm boy, who was as delicate as a child from the immortal realm, was already invincible in the entire continent. Chapter 742. Of course, this is due to the efforts of the people of Hell Flame Valley. Everyone knows about Tiandao sects and Gong Qianxue's numerous evil deeds. Those sensational tragedies, those innocent women's tearful accusations, make the people of Yanwu continent find it hard to believe. Those innocent girls who were locked up in the underground palaces, Saos, they didn't have to come forward and open up their scars. But the hatred in their hearts far surpasses the hatred towards those beasts of Tiandao sect. Therefore, they disregarded everything and came forward, uncovering those bloody past events in front of everyone, even if their reputations would be ruined henceforth. They were arrested and subjected to all kinds of humiliation. They were forced to conceive a child, but the fetus was gouged out while they were still alive. They couldn't call for help from the heavens. They couldn't even die. These tearful memories and accusations, those curses that couldn't wait to devour their flesh, apart from shocking the people of Yanwu continent, there's no way they wouldn't believe it. All of this is true. Tiandao sect, Gong Qianxue, they really are deranged, devoid of humanity. If there were people who expressed sympathy for Tiandao sect's destruction at the beginning, when these facts are announced, it's all replaced by anger and disgust. Every person of Tiandao sect has become a street rat, and Gong Qianxue, who was once the continent's #1 genius, has become the woman that everyone loathes the most. Jian Feng glares at him fiercely, wishing he could rush over and hack this bastard who forgets morality at the sight of profit. However, as he swings his long sword to stab Gong Qianxue, his body swaying. Because of this delay, his leg is cut, and he can hardly stand. Jian Feng's cultivation is very high, but for the past half a month, they haven't had enough to eat or warm themselves. They've been dealing with the pursuit all the time, and they've long been exhausted. As it happens, Gong Qianxue's cultivation is almost completely crippled. She can only survive by relying on his protection. Even if Jian Feng is made of iron, it's still impossible for him to persevere. The fat man narrows his eyes, looking at Jian Feng's injuries, then at Gong Qianxue beside him. He sneers, "Jian Feng, I say, don't be stubborn. Draw a clear line with this woman as soon as possible, and maybe you can still be saved." For a woman like Gong Qianxue, whose heart is like a snake and scorpion, do you really think that she has true feelings for you? Don't talk nonsense. Qianxue is not that kind of woman. All of this is because that slut Jun Mayan framed Qianxue. TCH? The fat man's smile became even more contemptuous. Framing Gong Qianxue? Are you deceiving yourself? Every single piece of evidence that Hellflame Valley had produced was clear. Who didn't know what this woman had done? Only a fool like you would think that she's a pure white lotus. Would a truly innocent person do something like turning an entire city of citizens into puppets? Would a truly innocent person steal someone else's child without batting an eye? Jian Feng's eyes flashed, and his sword movements slowed down. When the fat man saw his hesitation, he immediately said excitedly, Jian Feng, you also know how powerful the Nether Flame Army is now. Going against them will not end well. Who are you, Jian Feng? If he wanted a woman, where could he not find one? Why should I be dragged down by this woman? Why don't you tie her up and come back with me? I promise I'll help you plead with the Enchantress of Medicine. Chapter 743. Gong Qinxue tightly clenches her teeth, her eyes red. She can't wait to rush over and tear the fat man into pieces. But compared to the fat man in front of her, she wants to tear Mayan even more. It's all because of her. It's all because of that slut that I've ended up like this. From a high and mighty princess, she's reduced to a street rat that everyone wants to beat up. Now, even Jian Feng is hesitating. He actually wants to abandon her. No, she absolutely won't allow it. If Jian Feng abandons her at this time, she'll really be finished. Senior brother. Gong Qinxue takes a deep breath and looks at Jian Feng with tears in her eyes. Senior brother, I have nothing now. I only have you. Don't abandon me, okay? Senior brother, I only did those things to level up as soon as possible. I wanted to go to the Xiuzhen continent and be with you. Jian Feng's eyes flash. Then he suddenly soars into the air and slashes at the fat man with his long sword. In the end, the fat man and his men are all killed by Jian Feng. But Jian Feng is also seriously injured and can no longer bear the next wave of pursuit. Qinxue. In the broken temple, Jian Feng holds Gong Qinxue's hand and says affectionately, Qinxue, I won't abandon you. In this life, I only love you. But now, our situation has reached the end of the road. If we don't find a way to save ourselves, we'll really die in the hands of that slut Mayan. Gong Qinxue cries, Senior brother, Qinxue doesn't want to die. Senior brother, save me. There's a way to keep us alive. Moreover, it can also make that slut Mayan die a horrible death. Gong Qinxue's eyes suddenly brighten. Senior brother, quickly tell me, what's the way? We'll go back to the Xiuzhen continent and report to my sect about Mayan, triggering the 9-star pearl anomaly in the immortal spirit body. As long as my sect's people are willing to come to the Yinwu continent to deal with Mayan, she and her son will inevitably die without a burial place. Jian Feng's eyes shine brightly, and there's a twisted hatred in them. Gong Qinxue is startled, but senior brother, didn't you say that you chose to stay in the Yinwu continent for a long time, and that your body is contaminated with the barren atmosphere of the Yinwu continent, and can no longer return to the Xiuzhen continent? Of course I can't go back like this, so junior sister, I need your help. Jian Feng's scorching gaze fell on Gong Qinxue, but it made her shiver. Senior brother, how can I help you? Jian Feng took out a box from his bosom and opened it. Inside were 2 pills, one red and one blue. Junior sister, as long as you and I each take a pill, then have sex. During the process of having sex, I will transfer the desolate qi in my body to your body. Then, I can return to the cultivation continent. When Gong Qinxue heard this, her eyes abruptly opened wide. Jian Feng continues, but I don't feel at ease leaving junior sister alone in this Yinwu continent. Therefore, this elixir can temporarily turn you into my furnace. This way, even if you have the desolate air on your body, you can still return to the Xiuzhen continent as my appendage. Gong Qinxue's face was full of terror as she desperately shook her head. How can this be? In this way, wouldn't I be unable to temper my body and soul forever? If one's body was contaminated with too much desolate qi, they would not be able to form their spirit roots and attract the lightning tribulation. Chapter 744. Only a particularly talented martial artist can remove the barren energy from their body when they reach the Xiantian great perfection and shape their spiritual roots. Gong Qinxue hears Jian Feng's words. How can she not understand? Her cultivation has regressed. Originally, her hopes of forging her body and shaping her spirit were slim. Now, If she receives the barren energy, how could she possibly ascend? Moreover, if she becomes Jianfeng's furnace, wouldn't her status be lower than Jianfeng's forever? From then on, if Jianfeng wants her to live or die, she'll die? How could that be? She clearly doesn't even like Jianfeng. This waste? How could she become Jianfeng's furnace? No, you can't, senior brother. Let's think of another way, okay? Didn't you say that you would marry me officially? How can you treat me as your furnace? Jianfeng held her hand and softly said, Junior sister, believe me, when I invite the sect, I will definitely find a way to expel the desolate qi from your body, remove your identity as a human furnace, and let you successfully ascend. This time, we have offered the immortal spirit body, which is a great merit. The sect will definitely reward us. Junior sister, believe me. Moreover, we have no way out. If this goes on, you and I will be caught by Junmayan sooner or later. Do you still remember the hatred of you wanting to dig out the fetus in her belly? She will never let you off. Following Jianfeng's persuasion and assurance, Gong Qinshua's expression changes. In the end, her hatred for Junmayan finally overcomes everything. She grits her teeth and says, Fine, I promise you. Let's go back to the Xiujin continent together. Jianfeng stuffs the red elixir into her mouth and takes the blue one himself. Then, he impatiently presses her down on the cold, wet, and dirty ground. Gong Qinshuo feels the violent impact of Jianfeng and the bone-chilling pain when the barren energy enters her body. His eyes were bloodshot. Junmayan, it's all thanks to you that I've ended up like this. Don't be complacent. Don't think that you've already won. One day, I will make you 10,000 times more miserable than me. Junmayan, just you wait. Gong Qinshuo, will be back soon. Hellfire Valley. Compared to the mysteriousness and desolation of the Ghost Wind Valley in the past, the outside of the Hellflame Valley could be said to be a boiling cauldron of voices, and it was extraordinarily lively. Crowding outside the Ghost Wind Valley, there are a lot of famous high-level practitioners of the Yinwu continent. Many major forces wanted to recruit them, but they didn't even bat an eye. But at this moment, each and every one of them are blocking the entrance of Hellflame Valley, shouting loudly, Quickly give Lousy a registration form. Lousy wants to apply for the ink camp. Oh, brother, you're awesome. You actually want to enter the ink camp. That's the most difficult to enter among the 4 divisions of the Nether Flame Army. Heh, that's right. I've inquired about it. The people in the ink camp are all real men of iron and blood. They're the most to my liking. The others are either effeminate or fake. I don't like them. This time, Lousy will definitely pass the exam and enter the ink camp. I'm not interested in the ink camp. I want to enter the everlasting camp. I heard that in the everlasting camp, even an ordinary person can learn to refine medicine, and the rank of the drafts they refine would be better than the doctors outside. How many people have tried to get in? Isn't that obvious? The Enchantress of Medicine's medical skills are the best in the world, so the everlasting camp is naturally the best among the 4 camps. What a joke. The ink camp is the #1 camp in the Hellflame Valley. Chapter 745. You bunch of idiots. Let me tell you, the Tianji unit is the one with the best treatment among the 4 camps. In order to build the largest intelligence system, the entire Hellfire Valley's resources are poured into the Tianji unit. Nonsense. Don't blindly compare with Lousy. The ink camp is the best. No refutation. Xiaoyi looks at the chaotic scene in front of him, somewhat unable to come back to his senses. The magistrates behind him also stare blankly at the scene of people looting, absent-minded. In Xiaoyi's mind, the scene of that little girl Junmayan turning Xia's ghost city upside down unconsciously emerges. At that time, the magistrates of Xia's ghost city coveted her special drafts and wanted to trap her in the ghost city until she died. At that time, Junmayan only opened a small pharmacy, and the name of the Enchantress of Medicine was far from spreading throughout the world. It's only been a little more than a year, but such earth-shaking changes have occurred. Xiaoyi takes a few steps forward, but he's stopped by the guards of Hellfire Valley. This young master, may I ask if you have an entry token? You can't wander around the Hellfire Valley? Impudent. The magistrate behind Xiaoyi immediately steps forward. This is the Ghost City's Ghost King. He came to Hellfire Valley to discuss the sale of drafts and elixirs. Hearing the name of Ghost City's Ghost King, many people can't help but look over. But they only take a casual glance, and then continue to argue about which of the four camps is the best. It's just like the Ghost City's Ghost King isn't worth paying attention to. The complexions of the Hellfire Valley's guards don't even change. No matter who it is, they must use an entry token to enter Hellfire Valley. You guys are really bold. The magistrate behind Xia Yi flies into a rage out of humiliation. He's about to curse, but is stopped by Xia Yi. This humble one is Xia Yi, the Ghost King of Qi Yin Country's Xi'an City. I'm an old acquaintance of Miss Ruyan and Mr. Tao in the valley. I wonder if Xia Yi hasn't finished speaking when the guard's serious face immediately breaks into a smile. Oh, it turns out to be Xia Yi Darren. Why didn't you say so earlier? Please come in. Please come in. Tao Darren had already told me that you were coming, and has been waiting for you for a long time. Miss Ruyan heard that you were coming, and had of the Tianji battalion prepare exquisite things for you early on. Even our young miss wants to see you. In the blink of an eye, Xia Yi was surrounded by the enthusiastic crowd. These people seemed to know how to change their faces. Just a moment ago, they were ignoring him, but now, they were attentive to him. Even the martial artists who were registering outside stopped arguing and looked at him, their eyes filled with envy and jealousy. When Xia Yi was brought into the Hellflame Valley, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. On that day, he sent Ru Yin, Old Tao, and the slaves of Wanren Ku to Mayan, just to make amends and appease her. But who would have thought that a short year later, Ru Yin and Old Tao would actually stand in such a position? One was the commander of the secret battalion. One was the deputy commander of the longevity battalion. How many people dreamed of a position that they might not be able to achieve in their lifetime? Lord Xia, you're here. Old Tao and Ru Yin came out of the meeting hall and saw Xia Yi being brought in. They smiled and greeted him. The two of them warmly welcomed Xia Yi and his accompanying infernal judge. Then, they recalled the past and revealed expressions of reminiscence. Chapter 746. Xia Yi repeatedly shakes his head, sighing. All these years, even though the three major ghost markets can obtain drafts and elixirs from Hell's Flame Valley, my Xia'an's Ghost City has always had more drugs than the other two ghost markets. How would I not know? This is what the two of you and the Enchantress of Medicine took care of me. Hee hee. Ru Yin can't help but laugh. Miss said that this is her return gift for robbing your Ghost City. There's no need for Lord Xia to stand on ceremony. Xia Yi recalls the Ghost City that was swept clean, and the corner of his mouth can't help but twitch. Although in the end most of the things were sent out by himself, but that was also because of Ghost King Gu Yu's command. Now that he thought about it, it wasn't wrong to say that he was robbed. Lord Xia, why did you personally come to the Hellflame Valley to look for Miss? Hearing Ru Yan's question, Xia Yi was silent for a moment. Then he let out a long sigh and said, to be honest, I have something I need the Enchantress of Medicine's help with. Deathly Flame Valley, Palace of Dawn. This was the place where Mayan lived. On weekdays, there were very few people going in and out without orders. At this moment, there was a sudden bang in the courtyard outside the hall, followed by a cloud of black smoke. The smell of burnt herbs permeated the air, but the servants inside and outside the Palace of Dawn were already used to it. Mu Yin looks at the cauldron that has exploded once again, feeling a little vexed. This was already the 7th time she had refined the spirit molding pill, but she still did not succeed. She didn't know what the problem was. The only thing worth rejoicing about was that he had prepared a lot of medicinal ingredients, so he wasn't afraid of wasting them. Even the most precious jade dragon saliva, because the fat rabbit directly caught a live jade dragon snake, there was no need to worry about not having it. But where exactly was the problem? How could he successfully refine the spirit molding pill? Mother! Little Bao's voice rang out. A small figure rushed in from outside the hall and was about to jump into her arms. The corners of Mu Yan's mouth reveal a faint and gentle smile, and she reaches out to catch Xiao Bao. But suddenly, the light and shadow in front of her darkened, and her body was embraced into a wide and tight embrace. The familiar scent of the man assaulted her face, covering and imprisoning her tightly. Xiao Bao was caught off guard and stopped in his tracks, glaring fiercely at the bad man who had snatched his mother. "Let go. Give my mother back to me." Mingju holds Mayan in his arms, looking down at Xiao Bao from above. He has an indifferent and arrogant expression on his face. "Wait until you reach the great perfection of the pre-celestial realm, then come and talk terms with Bin Jun. Furthermore, your mother was mine to begin with." Xiao Bao glares indignantly at Mingju, his little face flushing red. Mu Yin snappily pushes Mingju. How could this man be so childish? She pushes several times, but Mingju refuses to let go. Instead, he leans close to her ear and whispers, "We haven't seen each other for so long. Didn't Yin Yin miss me?" "Miss you? What do you mean by not seeing each other for so long?" It had only been 4 hours. She hadn't hugged her precious son for a few days. Miss Rian has brought Xia and City's King of Hell, Xia Yi, to request an audience. Mu Yin raises an eyebrow. "Let them in." After instructing her subordinates, she immediately glares at Mingju, "Still not letting me go. Why should I let go?" Mu Yin grits her teeth. "In a moment, Ruyan and the others will come in." How shameless was this man? As it turns out, when it comes to chasing after his wife, Junshang is completely shameless. Chapter 747. Without waiting for Mu Yin to resist, he had already sat on the chair and placed Mu Yin on his lap. Mayan is simply dumbfounded and immediately struggles. "Mingju, what are you doing?" "Nothing. It is only right and proper for this monarch to hug his own wife." "Who's your wife?" "Yin Yin, if you move again, you'll have to bear the consequences." Mu Yin was about to die from anger. "What exactly do you want?" Mingju's gaze is deep and serene. He slowly says in a low and deep voice, "Bin Jun wants everyone under the heavens to know that you belong to Bin Jun. No one can covet you." The corner of Mu Yan's mouth twitches. This stingy man. Didn't she spend half an hour alone with Changyu yesterday and gave pointers to Changyu to solve the hidden dangers in his cultivation? However, Changyu does have some secrets that even Mu Yin can't figure out for a while. She felt that he was a completely different person from when he first arrived. But Mu Yin doesn't care about the past and secrets of the people around her. She only needs to know that these people won't hurt her and Xiao Bao. Instead, they will risk their lives to protect them. Mu Yin had always been this kind of person. Either she didn't believe, or once she did, she would give all of her trust. Even if she had been deceived by Gong Qinxue, her nature had not changed. Her chin is suddenly gripped, and Mayan is forced to stare at God with her deep eyes. The man's eyes were filled with danger and possessiveness. "You're still thinking of other men in my arms, huh?" The burning lips blocked her breath, and then she felt a sharp pain on her lips. Mayan exclaims, "Mingju, are you a dog? How dare he bite her?" All of a sudden, Xiao Bao rushes over and pulls Mingju's hand away. He burrows into Mayan's arms and hugs her tightly. "Scoundrel, don't bully Nyang Qin." Mu Yin quickly hugs Xiao Bao and holds him in her arms. Therefore, when Xia Yi followed Ru Yin in, he saw such a scene. A tall, handsome, godlike man was holding a beautiful girl in his arms. In the arms of the young girl, there was a little boy who looked like he was carved from jade. This was supposed to be an awkward scene, but for the three of them, it seemed so natural. It was as if they were made by nature. They were supposed to be such an intimate family. Naturally, my ass. Natural, my ass. Mu Yin expresses that she can't wait to throw this shameless man out. Xia Yi shudders at the sight of Mingju's deep blue eyes. Was this the monarch that even the Ghost King Gu Yu submitted to? Xia Yi doesn't know Mingju's identity. He only knows that this man isn't from the Yinwu continent. His strength and identity were immeasurably powerful. Perhaps only this kind of man is worthy of such an outstanding woman like Miss Jun Ru Yin, on the other hand, was already used to the intimacy between the three of them. Seeing this scene, he only smiled mysteriously and bowed. "Greetings to Miss, young master and young master." No matter what, Mu Yin is unable to break free from Mingju's embrace. In the end, she could only give up and casually sit on his lap. Even in such an awkward situation, her body was still surrounded by a lazy and calm aura. She had always been a free and easy person, so she didn't care about losing face at all. Flip's table. It would be strange if he didn't care. Xia Wang, do you need something from me? Xia Yi hurriedly said, yes, this subordinate wants to ask the Enchantress of Medicine for a favor. Listening to Xia Yi's tireless narration, Mu Yin knows. Chapter 748. He and his childhood sweetheart managed to obtain the child with great difficulty, so the two naturally treasure him. However, before Xia Yi's wife gave birth, she was seriously injured by an enemy attack. In the end, although his wife and child were saved, the child's bones were crippled. It was only after the child grew up that Xia Yi discovered that the amount of internal force he could absorb was very little. Xia Yi and his wife's talents are excellent. The two are now over 50 years old and have already reached the pre-celestial stage. But their only son didn't have any talent for cultivation at all. 12 years of diligent and bitter training, Xia Yi fed him countless elixirs, but now he is still stuck at yellow stage. Until last month, his son's cultivation finally reached the peak of yellow stage, about to break through to profound stage. Unexpectedly, his whole body suddenly twitches, and his internal force disperses, becoming no different from an ordinary mortal. This time, Xia Yi and his wife are panicking. Thinking about it, if there is anyone in the world who can save his son, then it's probably this girl in front of them. Mayan doesn't talk nonsense with him and directly says, "Where's your son? Bring him here and let me see." Xia Yi is overjoyed and promptly asks the magistrate to bring his son over. It's clearly a 12-year-old boy, but he looks thin and weak, as if he's only 7 or 8 years old. Moreover, his complexion is sallow and his expression is cowering. When Mayan puts her hand on his pulse, he blankly stares at this sister who is even more beautiful than a fairy and can't help but ask, "Fairy sister, can I still cultivate? Do you want to cultivate?" Mayan looks up and asks him softly. The little boy nods heavily. I don't want father and mother to be disappointed. I want to break through to profound stage as soon as possible. I want to become their pride. But he didn't expect that his meridians and qi are so fragile. The result of forcing a breakthrough is that his qi is damaged and his meridians are blocked. Mayan gently touches his head and softly says, "Don't worry, you will definitely be able to continue cultivating." Hearing that, the little boy's eyes brighten, and he shows a bashful smile. Suddenly, his gaze falls on Xiao Bao at the side. Xiao Bao is holding a rabbit in his hand and is next to Mayan. Seeing the boy looking over, Xiao Bao's big blue eyes also look over. The boy immediately looks silly, thinking over and over again. Is this little brother a descendant of immortals? How could she be so beautiful? Seeing Mu Yin let go of the boy's hand, Xia Yi hurriedly asks nervously, "Miss June, is there any way to restore Pingan?" The little boy's name was Xia Pingan. Xia Pingan ran behind Xia Yi, grabbed the hem of his clothes and poked his head out, looking at his fairy sister expectantly. Mu Yin slightly frowns. No one knows what she is thinking. Hearing Xia Yi's question, she calmly says, "I've never treated this kind of illness before. His meridians and qi are inherently fragile. Even if ordinary drafts for repairing the tendons and veins could cure his current injury, they wouldn't be able to help him advance a step further. I can't think of a cure right now, but I'll try my best." Hearing that even Mu Yin could not think of a way, Xia Yi was somewhat disappointed, but he still bowed gratefully. "Then I'll have to trouble Miss June. Xia Yi, owe you a favor. In the future, no matter if I have to go through water or tread on fire, I will not hesitate." Seeing that Xia Yi and Xia Pingan are about to leave, Mayan's official business is over. Chapter 749. Who knew that Di Mingju would react so quickly, grabbing him by the collar and wanting to throw him out? But the current Xiao Bao isn't someone to be trifled with. The little figure makes a sharp turn in the air, a long sword already in his hand as he attacks Di Mingju. Xia Yi and Xia Pingan, who are about to leave, are simply dumbfounded. These two people, one big and one small, are actually fighting in the main hall. Both of them have shrunk the scope of their attacks to a very small extent, and the furniture around them aren't affected in the slightest. But the pressure and frightening momentum that occasionally leak out makes Xia Yi, a pre-celestial martial artist, feel a burst of fear. Let's not talk about the powerful Di Jun first. Why does even a 5-year-old child have such formidable strength? This child has clearly broken through to the pre-celestial stage, and is at least at the middle level of the pre-celestial stage. Even Xia Yi dares to guarantee that if he were to face him, he would absolutely be crushed. This is a 5-year-old child. Even Ru Yin and Old Tao show an aghast expression. Heavens, the little Gongzi just broke through to the pre-celestial stage a month ago, and now he's already at the middle level of the pre-celestial stage? This is too frightening. Truly worthy of being the child of the Miss and Di Jun. With a loud bang, Xiao Bao flies out, his whole body tumbling on the ground several times before he can stand firm. Di Mingju stands firmly where he is. Not even a corner of his clothes is in a mess. He looks down at Xiao Bao from above, indifferently saying, "If I hadn't been lenient, you would have lost your little life just now." Xiao Bao frowns in annoyance, his little fist pounding the ground in unwillingness. The gap between him and the lecher is really too big. Di Mingju slightly narrows his eyes, saying again, "With your current progress, you still need at least half a year to reach the pre-celestial Great Circle. In other words, you have to make Yin Yin waste her time and wait for you for another half a year." Half a year to reach the pre-celestial Great Circle. Whether it's Xia Yi, Ru Yin, or Old Tao, all of them are dumbfounded. Wait a minute, now that the pre-celestial Great Circle is as easy as radish and cabbage, can it be casually reached? And why do you have a contemptuous look on your face when you reach the pre-celestial Great Circle in half a year? How can you let these people, who have struggled for so long and can't even break through to the pre-celestial Great Circle? However, after hearing Di Mingju's words, not only does Xiao Bao not get angry, he instead lowers his head in shame. Her face was still cold, but her big eyes were filled with unwillingness and stubbornness. He snaps his head up, glaring at Di Mingju. "I will use the fastest speed to reach pre-celestial Great Circle. I will absolutely not drag Nyangqin down." Di Mingju waves his hand. "Don't just talk and no action. You only know how to pester your mother all day long. Have you completed the task Bin Jun gave you?" "Hey, Di Mingju. Mayan finally can't stand it anymore. Is it fun to bully my son?" "Xiao Bao, ignore him." Mu Yin reaches out to pick Xiao Bao up. Xiao Bao is already very, very powerful. It's only been half a year. Nyangqin can afford to wait. Unexpectedly, Xiao Bao took a step back, stood up, and wiped the dust off his face. There's a stubbornness on his little face. "Nyangqin, he's right. I'm a man. I have to protect Nyangqin. I can't drag Nyangqin down. I don't want mother to wait for me for half a year." After saying that, he turned around and ran away. Chapter 750. Even when the Nether Flame army formed a large group, they were often crushed and had to flee in a sorry state. But Little Master could deal with it alone. People really can't compare with each other. Ru Yin, Xia Yi, and the others bid their farewells and leave. Mu Yin is just about to find Di Mingju to denounce him. However, his body was suddenly pressed down by a strong force. Mu Yin staggers and falls on the chair. Then, his hands were firmly pressed on both sides of the armrest. The man's silhouette shrouds her. Di Mingju's unique, overbearing breath hits her in the face. Finally, the eyesores are gone. The man's voice is deep and husky, as if he's been suppressing his lust for a long time. "Yin Yin, now, no one will disturb us anymore." The man's handsome face was right in front of her, his deep blue eyes filled with her reflection. Mayan's breathing is a little chaotic, and she seems to be able to hear her own rapid heartbeat. She swallowed her saliva and said, You want Xiao Bao to advance to Xintian consummate in half a year? Aren't you being too hasty? After all, he's still a 5-year-old kid." Di Mingju slightly narrows his eyes, leaning closer to her. "Yin Yin, are you doubting Bin Jun's ability?" The man's eyes were bottomless, but they were burning with a flickering flame. It was like a wild beast that had found its prey and would devour it at any time. Mu Yin was immediately terrified. How could that be? Jun Shangdaran is #1 in the world. I doubt that no one will doubt you. Oh. She bit down on her pink lips. It's too late. If you say something wrong, you'll be punished. Deming Ju grabs her and flips her over. He sits on the chair and presses Mayan into his arms. Like a wild beast that doesn't know when to stop, he frantically devours all the breath on her body. By the time Mu Yin is released, her whole body is already completely trapped in Deming Ju's embrace. Deming Ju holds her in his arms like he's holding a child, and gently kisses the corner of her slightly red lips. His eyes were still filled with lust. His voice is unbelievably hoarse. Yin Yin, after we arrive at Shojin continent, let's get married. Okay? Mu Yan's heart violently thumps, and she subconsciously tries to avoid his gaze. However, Deming Ju grabs her chin, forcing her to look him in the eye. Junmayan, do you still want to escape? Even now, you still refuse to face your own heart? Mu Yan's body unconsciously trembles. Her soul seemed to be deeply sucked in by those blue eyes, unable to break free. The man's voice was like a devil's temptation, making her sink little by little. Junmayan, don't deceive yourself anymore. You also like me. You already have me in your heart. Mu Yin tightens her hands that hang by her side and slowly finds her voice. You really don't mind my past? She had always known that this man was superior, but he had never had a woman by his side. Ingmei and Hanyi both said that before they met him, no woman could get within 3 feet of Junshang. No matter how one looked at him, he was a perfect man who could drive all the women in the world crazy. As for her, in both her previous and current lives, she had long since been riddled with holes. She did not betray her innocence. Was she really worthy of this man? Could she really return the same feelings to this man? Chapter 751. He gently pecks the girl's lips, extremely gentle, extremely lingering, pouring out all of his feelings. If you don't marry, Ben Jun will never marry. Yin Yin, do you have the heart to let me live out my life alone, in misery? Jun Yin is still cold and aloof, but it's tainted with a bit of a spoiled grievance. Mayan couldn't help but burst out laughing. Polar Domain's Di Jun's charm is unparalleled. There are as many women in the 3 realms who want to marry you as there are stars in the sky. Di Jun will live out his life alone, in misery? Who would believe that? But there are 3,000 waters of weakness. I only want to marry you. Deming Ju gently grabs her hand and presses it against his chest. Junmayan, if you still don't believe me, how about Ben Jun cut out my heart for you to see? The corner of Mayan's mouth twitches, and she can't help but clench her hand into a fist. She heavily punches his chest. Where did you learn to be so glib, to speak such honeyed words? Ingmei actually says that their Junshang doesn't know what it means to coax a woman and asks her to bear the consequences. The result is that, apart from the guy being a bit stubborn at the beginning, his honeyed words become more and more difficult to resist. Jun Shangdaran says, Ben Jun didn't read so many romantic words in vain. What's more, what he's saying is clearly the truth, but it's a pity that his Yin Yin doesn't believe it. Deming Ju. Mayan suddenly raises her voice, interrupting Junshang's attempt to explain. He slightly glances to the side, meeting the girl's clear eyes that are as dark as ink. At this moment, there's no longer any languid and seductive disguise on her face, and there's also no attempt to escape. There's only his shadow. Deming Ju is almost intoxicated in those rippling, soul-stirring peach blossom eyes. So much so that he actually didn't hear what was said at the beginning. I admit, I really do. I will consider what you said. I will give you the answer after I ascend to the Shojin continent. Deming Ju abruptly comes back to himself, grabbing her waist and pulling her into his arms. You just said, you really do something to me? Mayan blushes. Good words don't say it twice. If you didn't hear it, then forget it. Deming Ju isn't willing to let it go, but he doesn't wait for her to continue questioning. Mu Yin suddenly pushes forward and presses his body against the chair. The girl half knelt on the edge of the chair in a very handsome posture, looking down at the man below her. Let's make this clear first. We have 3 rules. If you get involved with another woman while I'm giving my reply, then our agreement will be nullified. The smile in Di Mingju's eyes seems to overflow. He gently reaches out and presses Mayan into his arms. Can Ben Jun understand that Yin Yin is jealous? Mayan gives him a sideways glance. So what if I'm jealous? Jun Mayan's man can only belong to me. If I have to share him with others, then I'd rather not have him. Di Mingju really loves her flamboyant and confident look. He presses the back of her neck and kisses her again. How could I dare to disobey Madame's orders? He kisses her delicately, gently grinding, and softly whispers, Yin Yin, in this lifetime, there will be no one else in my heart besides you. Mayan stares blankly, then a smile slowly floats on her brows and the corners of her eyes. She reached out her hand and slowly grabbed his shirt, returning the kiss. The years are peaceful, and the feelings are profound. Mayan only reacts after a long time. Chapter 752. Mu Yin looked at Xia Pinggan's pulse diagnosis record in her hand and was a little worried. Di Mingju pulls her into his arms and casually asks, What are you looking at? So engrossed? It's just a piece of paper. Is it better looking than me? Mu Yin glares at him, then naturally nestles against his chest, saying, Xia Pinggan was injured when he was in his mother's womb, so that his meridians, qi, and even his internal organs are very fragile. This kind of fragility makes it impossible for him to bear the efficacy of elixirs, so he can only use drafts. Mu Yin found a prescription in the Encyclopedia of Supreme Drafts, and the applicable medical cases were similar to Xia Pinggan's. One of the medicinal ingredients required a spirit herb. It's not that Mayan doesn't have this kind of elixir, but once she uses it, Xia Pinggan's body simply can't bear it. Di Mingju glances at her and casually picks up a pen to write down the name of a medicinal herb on a piece of paper. What if we replace this elixir with this? Mayan stares blankly at the draft that Di Mingju wrote. After a few breaths, she suddenly came to her senses. That's right. She could change the medicinal herbs according to the medicinal properties. Why should she be restricted by the prescription? This was really a case of being blinded by a single leaf. Replacing it with the herbs that Di Mingju had written down. Even though the medicinal properties of the Supreme Draft had decreased, it had become extremely mild. Even with Xia Pinggan's physical condition, he could still bear it. Just as Mayan is about to praise Di Mingju, her eyes suddenly widen. If Xia Pinggan's medicine could be changed in this way, then what about the spirit molding pill? Why did the spirit molding pill explode? This was because there was a spirit herb that had a very high requirement for the purity of its spirit qi in the fusion process. But the Yinwu continent's aura is naturally heterogeneous, and Mayan uses ordinary flames to refine it. It's simply impossible to guarantee that the spiritual energy is completely pure. Therefore, every refinement attempt failed. What if she replaces this elixir with a draft with a similar attribute? Even if the medicinal effect was slightly weakened, her cloud-born sea formation could greatly increase the medicinal effect, so it would definitely be able to make up for this weakening. The more Mu Yin thinks, the more excited she gets. He didn't want to waste even a moment. He stood up abruptly and was about to walk out. She hasn't even taken 2 steps when Di Mingju pulls her back. The man pulls her very close to him, his expression unkind. Yin Yin, are you burning the bridge after crossing the river? There's a joyful smile on Mayan's face, and she suddenly reaches out to hold his handsome face. Under Di Mingju's startled gaze, she lowers her head and gently kisses him on the lips. She says with a low laugh, Baby, you're really amazing. I'll record this merit for you. Saying that, she abandons the petrified Di Mingju and hurriedly leaves. Di Mingju stiffly sits in place for a good while. Only then does he reach out to touch his lips. The expression on his face seems to be an angry smile. This woman was getting more and more insatiable. They actually dared to take liberties with him. She even called him darling. This monarch is the dignified lord of Polar Domain. Who allowed her to call me that? Di Mingju's ears redden, and it's a long time before he finally gets up and walks outside. His face is taut, but from time to time, he can't stop the corners of his mouth from curling up. After getting married, he must properly control this little woman. Otherwise, Wouldn't she overturn the heavens? If Ing Mei were to hear his lord's thoughts at this time, he would definitely roll his eyes. Even if Miss June wanted to overturn the heavens, it would still be because of you, Master, spoiling her. Chapter 753. After Mayan refines the draft to repair his meridians and qi si, Xiaoping's condition quickly improves. In just a short 7 days, he had already recovered his cultivation, and that very night, he broke through the bottleneck and advanced to the mystic stage. Xia Yi is simply crying tears of joy. He kowtows to Mu Yin again and again, and gives almost half of Xia Yi's Ghost City's assets to Mu Yin. Only then does he bid farewell and leave. Before leaving, Xiaoping really wanted to see his little brother, who was as pretty as a doll. However, Xiaobao stayed in the back mountain of Netherflame Valley and did not come out. Xiaoping retracted his gaze regretfully and could not help but look at Xia Yi. Father, can I stay in Hellflame Valley? Why does Ping want to stay here? Fairy sister and little brother are both so beautiful and so powerful. I like them and want to see them all the time. Besides, I feel very comfortable and happy here. Even when he hadn't recovered from his illness, when he was weak and incompetent, no one here would laugh at him. Instead, everyone comforted him and made him happy. He really liked this place. Xia Yi smiled and rubbed Xiaoping's head. He said in a gentle voice, Ping, if you want to stay here, you still have to work hard, because this place only accepts experts. As for the little young master and Miss June, they will only leave stronger experts by their side. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. Ping will definitely work hard to become the strongest. He turned around and looked at the valley that was gradually shrouded in thick fog. He swore to himself. One day, he would become stronger and become a part of this place. 10 days later, Ru Yin held Xia Yi's letter and smiled at Haitang beside her. Xia Darren said that Ping is determined to join the ink camp and has always been at the little master's side. Now he's desperately cultivating every day, and his cultivation is advancing by leaps and bounds. Haitang couldn't help but laugh. Everyone in the Nether Flame army quite liked this somewhat silly but abnormally honest and steady little boy. But as she smiled, her smile faded. Who wouldn't want to stay by Miss and little Gongzi's side? But Haitang did not continue, but Ru Yin knew what she wanted to say. But what rights did they have to stay by the side of young Miss and little Master? The young Miss's cultivation had already reached the consummate level of the Xiantian realm, and she had even successfully molded her spiritual root. As long as she was willing, with just a thought, she could temper her body and soul, trigger the lightning tribulation, and ascend to the cultivation land. As for the young master, the Empyrean Emperor had said that he would be able to reach the peak of the Xiantian realm in half a year at most. At that time, the Miss and the little master will leave Yanwu continent. As for them, how they wanted to follow Miss and little master to roam the world. However, their cultivation was only at the heaven realm. Even if they worked hard to reach the innate realm, how many years would it take before they could refine their bodies and souls? This thought flashed through the minds of everyone in the Nether Flame army. There was reluctance, unwillingness, yearning, and expectation. However, no one dared to say it. No one dared to mention a single word, because their lives were bestowed upon them by the young Miss, and their current glory was bestowed upon them by the young Mississippi. They hoped that Miss and little master could spread their wings and soar high, and would not be hindered by anyone or anything, especially them. Ru Yin gently exhaled and forced a smile. In fact, we are already very lucky to be able to stay by Miss and little master's side for so long. Feng Haitang was about to reply. Chapter 754. Both of them turned their heads and saw the person standing at the door. They were stunned. Miss, that's right, the person standing outside is Mayan. However, it was different from her usual languid and calm demeanor. At this moment, she looked exhausted, and there were dark circles under her eyes, as if she hadn't slept for several days. Miss, your complexion, Feng Haitang said worriedly. But he was immediately interrupted by Mu Yin. She took out a storage ring and placed it on the table. Her voice was slightly hoarse as she said, There are 200 spirit molding pills in here. Divide them into 4 portions. Choose 50 elites from each camp with higher cultivation and let them consume them. I want to see the effects. Spirit molding pill. What is that? Ru Yin angrily took out a porcelain bottle from her storage ring. Opening the porcelain bottle, there were about 10 pills inside. Mu Yin says faintly, after taking it, as long as one's cultivation reaches the pre-celestial level, they will be able to shape their spiritual roots, temper their body, and refine their soul. It's just that because you haven't reached the Xiantian full circle and haven't been tempered by the thunder tribulation, the attribute of your spiritual root isn't very good. Most of you have 3 spiritual roots. I'll think of a way to solve this problem for you when we get to the cultivation continent. Of course, if there is anyone in the Nether Flame Army who is unwilling to ascend like this, I will not force them. Ru Yan's hands trembled and her legs went soft. She almost threw the porcelain bottle in her hand to the ground. Self-molded spirit root? Her tongue was stiff and her ears were buzzing. She felt like she was hearing some kind of illusion. Even Feng Haitang, who had always been a calm person, had her mouth wide open, unable to react for a long time. Miss, you really refined such a miraculous pill? Shaping the spirit root, that was shaping the spirit root. Furthermore, he could temper his body and soul and ascend to the cultivation continent without even experiencing the lightning tribulation. It must be known that there are many practitioners in the Yinwu continent who have persevered until they are over 100 years old, but are still unable to break through the bottleneck. They can only sigh as they gaze at the Xiuzhen continent, which is just out of reach. If the elders of the Tiandao sect had this spirit-molding pill, why would they need to go crazy and raise a pill embryo? After a long while, Ru Yin said in a sharp voice, Miss, do you know what you have given us? It's not just a mere elixir, but something that will completely change the structure of the Yinwu continent. Furthermore, the young miss had given him 200 pills in one go. 200 pills, and she said it was a trial? What did that mean? Chapter 755. Miss Ru Yin, will follow you for a lifetime, never marry, never have children. Ru Yin, will only love you, miss, for a lifetime. Mu Yin is at a loss for what to do with these 2 girls crying. She doesn't understand why they're crying like this after casually giving them some medicine. And crying is crying. Can they not wipe their snot and tears on her? Refining medicine for 10 days without rest. She's very tired. She just wants to sleep. Okay? Mu Yin sighs softly. Just as she is about to comfort these 2 crying women, she suddenly feels her body lighten. Feng Haitang and Ru Yin, who were holding her, have been directly thrown out. Mu Yin soars into the air and is carried by Di Mingju. He turns around and walks out. Although Feng Haitang and Ru Yin were thrown out, they aren't injured. After getting up and seeing Di Mingju carrying Mu Yin away with a dark face, they can't help but laugh. Son-in-law is jealous. Son-in-law is really too overbearing. Even when a woman approaches the miss, he gets jealous. Who told our miss to be so outstanding? It's normal for son-in-law to be worried. The 2 joked for a while, then take the spirit-molding pill to Yin Haoyin and Bai Yiqin. They want to share this great news with the rest of the Nether Flame Army. They want to tell Yin Haoyin, Bai Yiqin, Guan Hu, Old Tao, tell them that the miss will not abandon them. The Nether Flame Army can go to the Xiuzhen continent together. Di Mingju carries Mu Yin all the way back to the bedroom, his face dark the whole time. The momentum of his body makes the little maid tremble in fear, almost turning around and running away. Mu Yin holds his face and smiles. Who offended Jun Shangdaran again? Why is your face so ugly? While talking and laughing, she also kneads his face into various shapes. Di Mingju. His little wife is getting more and more presumptuous. What to do? Does he still want his Di Jun's dignity? Di Mingju ignores Mu Yan's question, still calmly carrying her into the bedroom and placing her on the bed. Mu Yin wants to speak, but Di Mingju presses her on the bed and says with a dark face, "Sleep." Mu Yin finds that Di Mingju is really angry. She grabs his hand and gently shakes it. "Don't be angry. I won't sleep for 10 days in a row and make you worry." Di Mingju's complexion turns even darker. He almost roars out, "There's still a future?" No, no, absolutely not. Mayan is just short of pointing to the heavens and swearing an oath. She takes the initiative to kiss Di Mingju's face several times. Only then does Jun Shangdaren's temper settle down. Di Mingju snorts coldly. He bears it for a while, but in the end, he still couldn't help but say, "In the future, you're not allowed to get so close to them. You're not allowed to make a move on you." Them? Who? Chapter 756. We will follow Miss and Little Master for a lifetime. As a result, Jun Shang's face darkens even more. Mayan grabs the man's wide palm, gently pasting it on her face, and slowly falls into dreamland. For the first time, her dream no longer has the bloody and dark past, only warmth and sweetness. For the first time, she is full of longing and expectation for the future, for that mysterious continent. There, will she stay with this man by her side, with complete sincerity, never to be separated? Past life, present life, the Xiujin continent and the bright future. For the first time, she is so close, so close. Xiujin continent's western regions, Yunguang sect. Jianfeng and Gong Qinxue kneel on the ground, their bodies tense. The atmosphere in the entire hall is somewhat solemn. Finally, an old man sitting at the head says in a somewhat high voice, "You said that you found an immortal spirit body in the Yinwu continent? Is this true?" "It's absolutely true." Jianfeng quickly says, "On that day, this disciple stayed in the Yinwu continent without permission. I knew that I had wronged the sect, and I didn't have the face-to-face master, so I didn't dare to come back. But this time, this disciple suddenly received the news of an immortal spirit body, and felt that I should report it to Master no matter what. So I rushed back from the Yinwu continent. I asked Master to punish this disciple for being unfilial." The old man doesn't get angry when he hears that. Instead, he says excitedly, "Quickly get up. Quickly get up. If the news you brought is true, Feng not only are you not guilty, you are also a great hero of our Yunguang sect." The elders and disciples of the Yunguang sect, standing on both sides, all show an excited expression. Their Yunguang sect, in the entire Xiujin continent, is a third-rate sect that can't be ranked. Even the cultivation of the sect leader, Wu Qishan, isn't much. But if he can obtain an immortal spirit body, then it's completely different. As long as he can refine the immortal spirit body into an elixir, Wu Qishan believes that he can definitely lead the Yunguang sect to a brighter future. Jianfeng stands up, and at the same time pulls Gong Qianxue behind him. "Master, this is Gong Qianxue, this disciple's." Wu Qishan contemptuously looks at Gong Qianxue and casually says, "You found a furnace in the lower realm? This aptitude really isn't much. But forget it, it's just a furnace. Master won't blame you." "Master, Qianxue isn't." Jianfeng wanted to explain, but Wu Qishan simply doesn't give him the chance. His eyes brighten as he says, "Everyone, go and get ready at once. We have to go to the Yinwu continent as soon as possible and seize the immortal physique, lest a long night brings many dreams." "Yes, sect leader." Everyone retreated from the hall, and when they passed by Jianfeng, they would show him a gratified and kind smile. Chapter 757. Slap. A ruthless slap landed on Gong Qianxue's face, causing her cheek to swell up and blood to overflow from the corner of her mouth. But the young girl still hasn't vented her anger. She rushes over and ruthlessly kicks her stomach twice. "Who do you think you are? A lowly and broken furnace dares to talk to this lady like this? Believe it or not, this lady will kill you right now." "Miling, stop." Jianfeng hurriedly stops the young girl. "Don't hit her. Qianxue is immortal. If you hit her like this, she will die." At this time, Gong Qianxue is already curled up on the ground in pain, moaning and trembling. Wu Miling is Wu Qishan's daughter, and she has always been swaggering around. Even if Jianfeng stops her, she still ruthlessly kicks Gong Qianxue twice before letting her go. "Senior brother, you have made a great contribution this time. Father will definitely put you in an important position in the future. In the future, what kind of woman can't be found? Why care about such an old and ugly furnace? If you have enough, it's better to dispose of it as soon as possible. Wu Meiling arrogantly leaves. Jian Feng then helps Gong Qinshu up from the ground. Qinshu, are you all right? Jian Feng, why did you let them bully and humiliate me like this? Didn't you promise that you wouldn't let me down? Gong Qinshu couldn't bear it anymore and lets out a hysterical scream. She regrets it. She shouldn't have promised Jian Feng to let him transfer the desolate energy to her body. She shouldn't have become his furnace. If not for this, how could she suffer such humiliation today? Qinshu, they are master and junior sister after all. I can't disobey too much. But don't worry, when master and the others catch the immortal spirit body, I will definitely ask them to let you leave your furnace body. Excuses. All of them are excuses. Gong Qinshu lowers her head and doesn't speak, but her face is distorted. Sure enough, the people of this world can't be trusted. Junmayan, Jian Feng, Wu Meiling. She won't let anyone who has humiliated her off. Jian Feng casually comforts Gong Qinshu with a few words. Seeing that she doesn't speak, he thinks that she has let it go. Qinshu, you go to my room first. I have something to do. I'll be back in a while. Jian Feng had not returned to the cultivation continent for such a long time that he had used up all of his spiritual herbs and artifacts. That's why he was in such a difficult situation when he fought with Junmayan in the Yinwu continent. This time, he finally managed to return to the Xiuzhen continent with great difficulty. Of course, he has to make sufficient preparations before going to take revenge on Junmayan. Gong Qinshu waited until the edge of the sword had left before she raised her head, revealing an expression that was half ferocious like a ghost. Just as she was about to get up and leave, she heard a commotion outside. It's the Flowing Moon Gate. The elders of the Flowing Moon sect are here. The Flow Moon sect was a sect that the Cloudlight sect depended on, and its status in the cultivation continent was far higher than the Cloudlight sect. The Flow Moon sect had many subsidiary sects, and they had never sent messengers over in the past. The people of the Cloudlight sect were caught off guard and hurriedly ran to welcome them. Gong Qinshua's expression changed. She quietly hid in the crowd and followed him out. In front of the sect, the elders of the Flow Moon sect had arrived. However, they were surrounding a masked woman in white. Their expressions were very respectful and careful. It could even be said that they were trying to curry favor with her. Chapter 758. Wu Qishan cautiously asks, "Excuse me, Honorable Envoy, what information do you want to inquire about? Several months ago, there was a 9-star alignment anomaly. Do you know who caused this anomaly? Where did it originate from? As long as you can provide the information, this Honorable Envoy guarantees that you will be given unexpected benefits." Gong Qinshua's pupils suddenly contract. Her breathing becomes rapid. 9-star alignment anomaly. Wasn't it caused by Junmayan? Everyone from the Yunguang sect shakes their heads. Everyone had seen the 9-star alignment phenomenon, but no one knew exactly how it had been triggered. The masked woman sighs softly, somewhat disappointed. This is already the outermost area of the Xiuzhen continent, but there is still no news about the moon's spiritual root. How should she explain it to the sect master and young master Qingwan when she returns? After confirming that no one in the Yunguang sect knows who caused the 9-star alignment, the people of the Flowing Moon sect don't stay and leave. However, they haven't gone far. Honorable Envoy, Darren, please wait. Gong Qinshu catches up, breathing heavily. As soon as everyone sees her, they immediately reveal a contemptuous expression. Gong Qinshu, however, stared straight at the veiled woman, gnashing her teeth as she said, "Honorable Envoy, if I say that I know who caused the 9-star pearl anomaly, can you help me successfully temper my body and soul?" The masked woman's pupils suddenly contract. Her voice seems to change. "You said that you know who caused the 9-star alignment anomaly?" "That's right." Gong Qinshu resolutely says, "Not only do I know who it is, I also know where she is." "Impossible." "Don't lie." The Flowing Moon sect elder disdainfully says, We have been searching the Xiojin continent for several months, but we didn't even have a single clue. How could a waste like you know? Gong Qianxue sneers, her expression sinister. That's because you don't know that the person who caused the 9-star alignment anomaly isn't in the Xiojin continent, but in the Yinwu continent. She's called Jun Mayan. The masked woman's eyes widen, revealing an incredulous expression. The people of the Flowing Moon sect are also shocked. Immediately, the masked woman restrains her expression, frowning. Impossible. The Yinwu continent has no spiritual energy. How could the spirit creation be successful? Are you deceiving this honorable envoy? No. How would I dare to deceive you? Gong Qianxue anxiously says, Honorable envoy, please believe me. I was brought here from the Yinwu continent by the people of the Yunguang sect. Down there, I've interacted with that woman countless times. She plays a zither, and her strength increases by leaps and bounds in a short period of time. She was there when the phenomenon occurred. I guarantee that it was definitely her. It was caused by Jun Mayan. Playing the zither? The masked woman murmured, her expression becoming more serious. Could it be that the descendants of the Shen musicians have really appeared in the Yinwu continent? So, even if they turned the entire cultivation continent upside down, they still couldn't find him? However, going to the Yinwu continent to find someone is easier said than done. This was especially true for people like them who had been living in the Xiaoxian continent for a long time and had been contaminated with divine power. If he rashly goes to the Yinwu continent, his body will be contaminated with the air of desolation, and his cultivation might even regress. But what if that Junmaya is really the person the young master is looking for? Chapter 759. She fishes out a blood-red porcelain bottle, handing it over to Gong Qianxue. The thing in this bottle is called Yin-Yang Evil Qi. When it comes into contact with fire, it will become the strongest poison in the world, and it will automatically seek to invade the purest spiritual body. Once she was afflicted with Yin-Yang Baleful Qi, she could only be relieved by copulating with a man. Go to the Yinwu continent and burn this Yin-Yang Sha around Mayan. If the Yin-Yang Sha invades Mayan's body, it proves that she is indeed the one who caused the 9 stars and moon phenomenon. At that time, this envoy will naturally follow the Yin-Yang Sha's trail to find her. If the Yin-Yang Baleful Qi didn't invade her body, it proves that what you said is a lie. At that time, the Yin-Yang Baleful Qi will bite back at you, and your face will be completely devoured. Hearing the masked woman's words, Gong Qianxue's hand trembled, but then she revealed a sinister smile. Esteemed envoy, don't worry, I will definitely not fail you. The veiled woman tossed out another bottle of pills. Take these pills. They can temporarily keep your cultivation level at the first stage of body refinement. As long as you can complete this task successfully, you will definitely receive many benefits. When Gong Qianxue took the pill, she almost cried tears of joy. It actually allowed her cultivation to instantly reach the first rank of the body refinement realm. This time, she had indeed gambled correctly. Jun Mayan, this time, your time of death has really come. As for me, I will step on your and your son's corpses to ascend and become an immortal. The veiled woman looked at Gong Qianxue's departing figure and sneered, revealing a look of disgust and disdain. Yin-Yang Sha was a treasure ranked 6th in Tian Yi Min's 10 Great Mysterious Poisons. How could it be as simple as she had said? Those who were afflicted with the Yin-Yang Evil Qi could indeed be detoxified as long as they had intercourse with the opposite sex. However, the opposite sex had to be someone with divine power. If she had intercourse with an ordinary man, that woman called Jun Mayan would indeed be able to linger on while at death's door. However, it would suck the man's vitality dry, and there would be no relief. She could only be like a beast in heat, constantly yearning to seduce men. Isn't the young sect master afraid that the girl with the moon's spiritual root will become the monarch's fiancée? At that time, would the god monarch still be interested in a flirtatious and shameless woman? As for the young sect master, as long as she loses her reputation, it will be enough for him to seize her moon's spiritual root and shun musician-related inheritance. As for that Gong Qianxue, The masked woman didn't tell her that the moment she released the Yin-Yang Baleful Qi, she would begin to receive the Yin-Yang Baleful Qi's backlash. Her ending would only be more miserable than Junmayan's. The veiled woman smiled faintly and said to the people of Flow Moon's sect behind her, "I'm going back to the cultivation continent to report this news to young sect master. You can go back by yourselves. Farewell, honorable envoy." The masked woman's figure slowly vanished, and the storm she stirred was about to stir up in the three realms. 2 months later, Xiaobao's cultivation reached high-level Xiantian realm. The people of the Hellflame Valley were already numb from the shock. They all expressed that this was normal, and there was nothing to be alarmed about. Flip's table. How could he not be surprised? That was a mere 3 months. In just 3 months, he had advanced from peak Heaven Realm to Upper Xiantian Realm. That was a 5-year-old child, yet he was already a high-level Xiantian Realm expert. Mu Yin looks at the baby nestled in her arms, and her heart aches terribly. In just 2 short months, her Xiaobao had become thinner and firmer. Chapter 760. At this moment, as long as Xiaobao appeared in any camp, the aura around him would cause everyone to keep quiet out of fear. At that moment, they completely forgot that the child was only 5 years old. In their eyes, Xiaobao was a king that looked down upon the world, and he was the master that they were willing to serve and serve loyally. This made Mu Yin feel somewhat helpless, because compared to her, the people of the Nether Fire Army are obviously more afraid of Diming Ju and Xiaobao. Instead, they are getting closer to her day by day. Could it be that she had not tormented these people enough recently? So much so that they felt that they were very approachable? Oh, in the past 2 days, she had come up with some new ways to play Floating Like a Dream and Realm of Stars. He might as well try it out on this group of fellows. Under the scorching sun, everyone from the Netherflame Valley shivered, feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Nyangqin, Xiaobao wants to take the fat rabbit out of the valley for a day tomorrow. Is that okay? Xiaobao raises his head and looks at Mu Yin with his big watery eyes. No matter how intimidating he was on the outside, in front of Mu Yin, Xiaobao would always be that lovable, calm, and precocious little boy who was infinitely attached to his mother. Mu Yin gently pinches his cheeks. "All right, where does Xiaobao want to go?" "Mother will go with you." A conflicted look appeared on Xiaobao's face. "I really want to go out with Nyangqin." Nyangqin has been forcibly occupied by that lecher for a long time. However, he couldn't do it this time. He wants to stealthily prepare a birthday present for his mother. How can he let her go with him? That wouldn't be considered a surprise. Xiaobao firmly shook his head. "Mother, Xiaobao wants to go by myself." Mu Yin was a little startled. This was the first time Xiaobao refused to stay with her. She felt a little disappointed. Her Xiaobao had grown up and had his own little secrets. But Mu Yin still respects Xiaobao's wishes. "Then can you bring Big Sister Ingmei along?" "No." Xiaobao shook his head even more resolutely. If Big Sister Ingmei knew, then the lecher would definitely know as well. He wouldn't let the lecher know about his mother's birthday and compete with him for favor. Mu Yin frowned slightly. Xiaobao immediately said, "Mother, Xiaobao is very powerful. I won't be bullied. Xiaobao will also be very obedient and will definitely come back before dark." In the face of her son's rare act of acting like a spoiled child, Mu Yin is powerless to resist. Finally, Xiaobao takes Changyu and a few elites of the ink camp and sets off. Looking at the figures of the group gradually disappearing into the distance, Mu Yan's heart surged with an indescribable irritation. However, when she wanted to think about it, the irritation disappeared. Mayan secretly laughs at herself for being overly suspicious. In the current Yinwu continent, there is almost no one who can beat Xiaobao. What's more, there was Changyu and the fat rabbit following them. How could anything happen? This is the first time that Xiaobao has made such a firm request. Mu Yin feels that as his mother, she should believe in her baby. Mu Yin tossed aside the faintly discernible uneasiness that lingered in her heart and turned to look for the Nether Flame Army to test out her new, Floating Like a Dream. Not long after, waves of ghostly wails and wolf howls came from the Hellflame Valley. At this moment, Everyone in the ink camp finally remembers the fear of being dominated by the demoness. Pooh, what's she devil? She's Miss. How could they be fooled by the gentle appearance of the current Miss, who could tell them how to escape from the terrifying nightmare dream? Woo woo woo. Chapter 761. At least this time, the mist didn't let them take off their clothes and put on an enchanting pose for Liu Beiyu to draw. Guan, who doesn't know that if it weren't for a certain narrow-minded man, Mayan would really want to unlock several new painting poses. What they should thank was a certain Junshang's overbearing possessiveness. The sky gradually darkened, and the zither music that tortured the Nether Fire Army slowly dissipated. Mu Yan's hand presses on the zither strings, emitting a rapid sound. She did not look at the wailing Nether Flame Army below her. Instead, she raised her head and looked at the sun that was slowly setting in the west. It was already 3 to 5 in the afternoon, and Xiaobao still hadn't returned. At this moment, the sound of messy footsteps came from outside. "Miss, there's an accident." The people from the ink camp come in carrying a man covered in blood. Seeing who it is, Mayan's heart suddenly sinks. This man is precisely one of the ink camp elites that went out with Xiaobao this morning. "Miss, little master. He was taken away." Mu Yan quickly puts a pill into his mouth. "Where is it? Who are you?" Wuwang. Wuwang Mountain Range. I don't know who they are, but their cultivation is extremely high. Captain Changyu said they should be from the cultivation continent. Also, there's also Gong Qinxue and Jianfeng. Mu Yan's breathing suddenly becomes heavy. Another person from the cultivation continent had actually appeared. Was it because of Jianfeng and Gong Qinxue? "We suffered heavy casualties, and only I managed to escape." Chang. Captain Chang chased after Little Master. "Miss, you have to save them quickly." "Miss, we'll immediately send troops to save Little Master." Guan, who said anxiously, "None of you move." Mu Yan shouted sternly, her expression as cold as ice. "The Nether Flame Valley is under emergency martial law. No one is allowed to enter or leave without orders." "I'll save him myself." Miss, how could you risk your life alone?" Mu Yan's gaze coldly sweeps over everyone, her voice carrying supreme majesty. "Those who disobey will be expelled from the ghastly Flame Valley." It was silent below, but everyone's faces were filled with unwillingness and anxiety. Mu Yan no longer pays attention to them, but instead looks at Mei. "Let's go." Mei hesitates for a moment, wondering if he should inform Di Mingju. In the end, he doesn't say anything and nods to follow Mayan. Junshang's avatar is currently handling some matters in the polar domain. If you rashly interrupt him, someone in the polar domain might discover that Junshang's main body isn't in the Shoshin continent. The last time Junshang was injured and went into seclusion, it already made some people in the polar domain suspicious. What's more, it was just a bunch of clowns from the cultivation continent. At worst, she could just directly intervene and settle it for Miss June. 2 hours ago. This time, Xiaobao came to the Wuwang Mountains to pick a very rare age-retaining flower as a birthday gift for Mu Yan. This kind of flower was very beautiful. It would change color according to the weather 24 hours a day. The most important thing is that there's a prescription recorded in the treasured canon of supreme drafts. After taking the drafts refined according to that prescription, not only can it nourish the yin and nourish the complexion, it can also keep a woman's appearance unchanged for at least 100 years. Little master, the miss is already beautiful enough. You still want her to become even more beautiful. How can you let other women live? An elite from the ink camp jokes. However, he pretended to be grateful as he supported the old man and walked toward Xiaobao while saying, "Thank you, little young master. Thank you, little young master." However, in the next moment, the childish yet cold voice interrupted her. "Kill." It's only one word, but everyone in the ink camp, including Changyu who's not too far away, simultaneously moves. At the same time, Xiaobao also made a move. A thick, profound energy and a swift and fierce killing move hurriedly attacked the young girl and the white-haired old man. Bastard! The girl couldn't dodge in time and was directly stabbed by Chang Yu's sword. Although she managed to avoid being hit in a vital spot, a bloody wound still appeared on her waist. The white-haired old man's reaction was much faster than the young girl's, but Xiao Bao's sword was also much sharper than Chang Yu's. His face, chest, and thighs had been inflicted with wounds by little Bao's sword qi, from which blood was gushing out. Chapter 763. A cold woman's voice came from the bushes beside them. Hearing this voice, Chang Yu and the people from the ink camp simultaneously stare blankly. Even Xiao Bao wrinkles his brows. Not far away, people walked out one after another. The strange beasts that roamed the Wuwang Mountains during the day weren't very strong. Sensing the aura of these people, they whimpered and ran far away with their tails between their legs. Among this group of people, there were two that stood out the most. They were Jian Feng and Gong Qianxue, who were wanted by the Hellflame Valley but had disappeared without a trace. Gong Qianxue, Jian Feng, you two bastards are still alive? Hearing the ink camp's question, Gong Qianxue's eyes reveal a murderous intent. That slut Jun Mayan still hasn't died. How could I die? Today, I rose from the ashes to let that bitch have a taste of the pain I felt back then. I want her to kneel in front of me and beg for mercy like a dog. Xiao Bao sneered and said, It's not dark yet? You start dreaming, old woman. Bah! A piece of trash like her kneeling in front of our miss and pretending to be a dog. Even our miss thinks it's dirty. I wonder who was the stray dog that fled in front of our miss a few months ago and even killed its parents with its own hands. Gong Qianxue's face twisted hideously. Who was the one who had caused her to end up like this? It was Jun Mayan. It was all Jun Mayan's fault. Jian Feng grabbed Gong Qianxue and said in a deep voice, Qianxue, don't be impulsive. Master's business is more important. The beautiful girl who had gotten up and treated her wounds sneered. You talk so much about how powerful you are, but it turns out that you were just a stray dog back then. I don't know what flowery words he used to deceive the esteemed envoy, but he actually bestowed you with a high-grade medicinal pill. After Gong Qianxue consumed the medicinal pill given by the masked woman, her strength directly reached the first rank of the body refinement realm. Hearing that the elixir had been given by the revered envoy, the people of the Cloud Light sect who had originally looked down on her with disdain could not help but feel somewhat fearful, and their attitudes became much more restrained. However, a cultivation vessel was still a cultivation vessel. No matter which continent they were on, they were the lowest and most despised existences. The dainty young girl was precisely the daughter of the Cloud Light sect's sect leader, Wu Meiling. How could she look up to Gong Qianxue? Meeting Gong Qianxue's fierce gaze, she sneered, What are you staring at, slut? Did I say something wrong? You're just a lowly furnace. What qualifications do you have to be on equal footing with us? Do you really think that Senior Jian Feng will marry you? Gong Qianxue's expression was cold. What she hated the most right now was people mentioning her as a human cauldron. Her hatred towards Jian Feng and the Cloud Light sect deepened. That's enough. Let's not talk too much. Let's capture the immortal body first, Wu Qishan said from the side. As he spoke, he looked at Little Treasure with burning greed in his eyes. Little fellow, this old man can give you a chance. Come with me obediently, and this old man will spare your subordinates' lives. What do you think? From the moment these people appeared, Chang Yu's expression became more and more solemn. He could clearly feel how powerful these people were. Moreover, the aura coming off their bodies is definitely not something that a person from the Yinwu continent would have. Chang Yu sucked in a deep breath and shouted in a deep voice, You guys bring the little master away first. I'll stop them. Captain, how could we leave you behind? Chapter 764. The eyes of everyone in the ink camp suddenly turn sour and unbearable, but their eyes slowly become resolute and boiling hot. That's right, they are the Nether Flame Army, fearless and unstoppable. Brothers live together, die together. In the silent and austere jungle, the smell of blood pervades the air. Wu Qishan gasps violently, holding the already unconscious Xiao Bao in his hands. He glances at the Ink Camp members lying in a pool of blood, his heart overwhelmed with shock. He originally thought that dealing with a few mortals of the Yinwu continent would be as easy as turning his hand over. He didn't expect that the strength of these people would be so frightening, especially this child with the immortal spirit body. He's clearly only 4 or 5 years old, but his strength is actually frightening to such an extent. People from the Xiuzhen continent would have their cultivation suppressed when they come to the Yinwu continent. Wu Qishan is also afraid of harming the baby's immortal spirit body and almost capsized in the hands of this child. Later, he had to use Yunguang's sect's unique elixirs to knock this little baby out. Even so, these people still killed 4 of his disciples. 4 disciples with a body-forging cultivation were actually killed by a group of mortals who don't even know what spiritual power is. Wu Qishan's expression is a bit unsightly. It seems that he has underestimated the people of the Yinwu continent. Even a 4 or 5-year-old child is so powerful, then what about that woman called Mayan? What kind of strength would that be? How troublesome would that Nether Flame Valley be? Wu Qishan's face darkens little by little. His gaze falls on the unconscious child. A scorching flame ignites in his eyes. He is determined to obtain the immortal spirit body. Miling, take your fellow apprentices and silence these people. He says in a low voice. Jin Feng, immediately find a quiet and remote place. Master wants to refine an elixir at once. No matter where it is in the 3 realms, the immortal spirit body is a treasure that everyone fights over. If he were to bring it back to the Xiuzhen continent, there's no telling if the Yunguang sect would be able to keep it. It should be known that when the immortal spirit body crosses the space barrier, it will inevitably cause a big commotion. It's impossible to not attract the attention of other sections. It would be better to refine the immortal spirit body into an elixir here, and wait until his strength has advanced by leaps and bounds before returning to the Xiuzhen continent. Although the Yinwu continent's atmosphere is barren and heterogeneous, even if the elixir only absorbs half of the immortal spirit body's effect, it would still be enough for his cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds. Chang Yu felt a chill run down his spine. The pungent smell of blood filled the tip of his nose, and all his consciousness seemed to be far away from him. He absent-mindedly opened his eyes and saw that Xiaobao was being carried in someone's arms and was moving away bit by bit. The words of those people reverberated faintly in his ears. Immortal spirit body, refined into a medicinal pill. They wanted to kill the little master? No. How could that be? Little master was young Miss Life, the source of all of young Miss happiness. Without the little master, the young miss would never be able to be happy. He won't allow anyone to hurt Mayan. He won't allow anyone to take away everything that Mayan cares about. In a trance, a scorching flame sprang up from his body. An energy that came from the depths of his memories rushed into his body. The memories that had disappeared from his mind once again came back intermittently. He isn't someone from the Yinwu continent. He came from the cultivation continent. His power was sealed the moment he fell, along with his memories. Chang Yu still couldn't remember who he was or where he came from. Chapter 765. Junior Sister. These people are already dead. Only these 2 still have a breath left. A Yunguang sect disciple kicks Chang Yu and another member of the Ink Camp in front of Wu Miling. An insignificant group of mortals actually dares to hurt this miss. I'll slice off your flesh piece by piece right now. I'd like to see if your bones are really that hard. I'll wait for you to beg for mercy from this miss like dogs. Wu Miling smiles sinisterly, her charming face full of resentment. She pulls up that semi-conscious member of the Ink Camp, sneering. If you obediently beg for mercy right now, this miss can still give you a quick death. Pa, kill me, cut me up, want me, to beg for mercy. Dream on. That person opens his eyes with difficulty, spitting a mouthful of bloody foam on her face. His eyes are filled with disdain as he faces death calmly. Wu Miling is thoroughly enraged. raising her hand to cut off his tongue. But at this moment, she hears the terrified shouts of her fellow apprentices. "Junior sister, be careful." Before Wu Meiling could react to what's happening, she feels a searing pain in her abdomen. A fist burning with flames directly pierces through her abdomen. Wu Meiling dumbly lowers her head to look at her abdomen. Her body violently twitches, then she unwillingly falls down. "You? Just who are you?" Everyone from the Yunguang sect looks at Chang Yu in shock. He's covered in blood, his face pale, his body on the verge of collapse. But that hand that is pierced through Wu Meiling's abdomen is burning with a blazing flame. When Wu Meiling's blood and internal organs come into contact with those flames, they're directly burned to ashes. Chang Yu's calm and unwavering eyes sweep over the remaining Yunguang sect disciples, his killing intent suddenly erupting. After a short quarter of an hour, the disciples of the Yunguang sect who stayed behind to silence the witnesses all fall to the ground, dying with remaining grievances. Each person has a large hole burned through by the flames. Looking through that hole, one can see the internal organs that have long been scorched inside. All the corpses have faces of disbelief and horror. They don't even understand why they died. How could they so easily die in the hands of a mortal from the Yinwu continent? And Chang Yu is clearly just a mortal from the Yinwu continent. How could he release that kind of flame? Chang Yu's body shakes. He suddenly spits out a mouthful of blood. He can no longer support himself, kneeling on the ground. "Captain, are you okay?" Chang Yu looks towards the Ink Camp member who was just threatened by Wu Meiling and says in a hoarse voice, "You go back. Go back to Hellflame Valley and inform Miss. Captain, what about you?" "I'll chase after the young master." Chang Yu fiercely bit the tip of his tongue and stood up shakily. "I will never allow anyone to hurt our little master." After Chang Yu and that member of the Ink Camp have left, Wu Meiling, who's lying on the ground like a corpse, suddenly inhales a mouthful of cold air, letting out a painful groan. Her abdomen was gurgling with blood, and her intestines were protruding out of her body. She had never felt such pain before, and she couldn't help but cry and wail. "Father, senior brother, it hurts. Save me, save me." Wu. Suddenly, she saw the medicine pouch not far away. That was a pill that Wu Qishan had specially refined for her, and there were many life-saving medicines inside. Great. As long as she took the pill, she would be saved. Wu Meiling crawled towards the medicine pouch with difficulty, her eyes filled with the desire to survive. Chapter 766. Wu Meiling cries out in pain. She raises her head and grins maliciously at Gong Qianxue. "Gong Qianxue, what are you doing? Let me go." Wu Meiling eagerly shouts, "Quickly give me the medicine pouch." "Give you the medicine pouch?" Gong Qianxue picks up the medicine pouch and giggles. "Wu Meiling, do you think I'm that stupid? After you've survived, you can properly humiliate me?" "Gong Qianxue, you don't talk nonsense. How could I humiliate you? Give me the medicine pouch. I'll go back and guarantee that I'll tell my father to accept you as a disciple. I'll also let Brother Jianfeng marry you. I beg you, quickly give me the medicine pouch." Gong Qianxue looks at her pleading appearance like a dog, and she can't help but laugh heartily, feeling indescribably carefree. Under Wu Meiling's expectant gaze, Gong Qianxue opens the medicine pouch. The medicine inside tumbles out, and she crushes them one by one. Wu Meiling suddenly widens her eyes, letting out a hysterical scream. "Gong Qianxue, you slut! You actually dare to destroy my medicine. My father won't let you off, ah!" A foot ruthlessly steps on her wound, until Wu Meiling's eyes turn white, and she completely stops breathing. Gong Qianxue delightedly looks at her appearance of dying with everlasting regret and giggles. Then the laughter gets louder and louder, approaching insanity. Junmayan, Wu Meiling, Jianfeng, Yunguang sect, all the people who have offended her, Gong Qianxue. She wants them to die a horrible death. Gong Qianxue looks in the direction of the departing members of the Ink Camp. Of course, she knows that they're going to inform Junmayan. But Junmayan has come, and she's fighting with the people of Yunguang sect, so she can profit from it. Junmayan, don't let me down. The yin-yang demon in my hands is hungry and thirsty, waiting to send you to hell. Miss found it. It's here. Following the voice, Mayan sees a ground full of corpses. Among them are the elites of the ink camp, and there are also several strangers. Mayan looks at the corpses of the ink camp members, and the light in her peach blossom eyes is slowly replaced by a bone-piercing chill. She stretches out her hand and gently brushes the air, collecting the corpses of everyone from the ink camp into her space. Miss, there are still remnants of spiritual energy in these people's dantians. They are indeed people from the cultivation world. Ingmei casually kicked the already dead Wu Meiling and said indifferently. Mu Yan's expression becomes even colder, and the corners of her mouth slowly curve into a succubus-like smile. I don't care which corner they came from. Anyone who dared to touch her people or abduct her Xiaobao would be killed without mercy. Mu Yan quickly found the traces left by Changyu on the tree trunk. The two of them chased after him as fast as lightning. Chapter 767. Yes, as long as you are willing to stand by and do nothing, our Cloud Light sect guarantees that we will not act against you. On the contrary, no matter how powerful you are only one person. Do you really think you can contend against my entire Cloud Light sect? Chang Yu's blood-red eyes swept across the people surrounding him, his hoarse voice filled with a thick, killing intent. Return the little master to me, otherwise, I will flatten the entire Cloud Light sect. What a joke. You want to destroy my Cloud Light sect. Stop joking around. Everyone, let's attack together. This guy is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Let's kill him together. The people of the Cloud Light sect shouted, their swords flashing, attacking together. Chang Yu clenched his fists, and the flames on his fists soared into the sky. Ah! Screams of agony could be heard from the mouths of the Cloud Light sect disciples. The fire in Chang Yu's hand was like the Grim Reaper's scythe. As long as it was lightly touched, it would burn into the bones, causing unbearable pain. The disciples of the Cloud Light sect were all shocked. Just who was this man? Why was his spiritual fire so powerful? On the cultivation continent, there should only be that sect that could cultivate the spiritual fire to such a superb level? But how could a cultivator from that sect end up in such a desolate place like the Yinwu continent? Who was this man? Just as the Cloud Light sect disciples were panicking, suddenly, Chang Yu punched out again, but the flames burned for a while, before suddenly being extinguished. The Cloud Light sect disciples were instantly overjoyed. His spiritual qi has been used up. Quick, everyone attack together. Ha ha ha, this time, you're dead for sure. In Yinwu continent, it is extremely difficult to gather spiritual qi. Therefore, once the spiritual energy was exhausted, it was almost impossible to replenish it in a short period of time. Without spiritual qi, without that terrifying spiritual fire, what was there to be afraid of? The auras of the disciples of the Cloud Light sect surged, and one of them flew high into the air, the long sword in his hand chopping down fiercely towards Chang Yu. However, his body was still in mid-air when he heard the melodious sound of a zither. Before he could react, he felt a sharp pain in his body. Bang, bang, bang. Countless bloody holes appeared on his body and blood spurted out. That person fell straight down from the sky. Chang Yu stood there in a daze, his body unable to support himself, swaying a little. In his ears, he seemed to hear the zither music that he yearned for day and night. The tip of his nose was slowly entangled with that unforgettable fragrance. Was she here? Was she finally here? That was great. Little Master could be saved. She wouldn't be sad anymore. Chang Yu's body swayed and suddenly collapsed. Chang Yu. Chapter 768. Before he fainted, he heard the girl's voice, which was as clear as the sounds of nature, but as cold as Azura's. Don't worry, I'll save Xiaobao, and I'll let them know the consequences of touching my Junmayan's people. After making sure that Chang Yu is completely unconscious, Mind letting Mei take him to a safe place. Following that, she raised her head to look at the remaining Cloud Light sect disciples, the corners of her mouth slowly curling into a coquettish and bloodthirsty smile. Speak. Who are you people, and where have you taken my son? If you tell me clearly, I might let you die a quick death. The disciples of the Cloud Light sect looked at each other, then said angrily, a mere mortal dares to boast so shamelessly. Heh. Now that the mysterious cultivator had died, just based on this little mortal girl, she wanted to contend against the great Cloud Light sect. What a joke. The disciples of the Cloud Light sect roared angrily, their swords dancing wildly. However, they soon found out who the joke was. A ruined temple outside the Wuwang Mountains. In front of a huge cauldron, Wu Qishan was muttering something to it. A moment later, a ball of flame suddenly sprang up in the cauldron, and the air in the dilapidated temple instantly became hot and heavy. Sect leader is really too amazing. To be able to ignite the Dan fire in such a short time in this barren Yinwu continent. The sect leader's alchemy level is already one of the best in the northern region of the ancient green world. As long as he takes the pill refined from the immortal spirit body, his cultivation will advance by leaps and bounds. At that time, who in the northern region will be a match for our Cloud Light sect? Wu Qishan listened to his disciples' praises and felt an indescribable joy in his heart. He knew that this was an extremely rare opportunity for him and the Cloud Light sect. If he grasped it, he would be able to soar into the sky. Bring the celestial physique over. Just as Wu Qishan finished speaking, a disciple of the Cloud Light sect exclaimed, Master, quick, look, immortal spiritual body. Immortal spiritual body. Everyone looked towards the source of the voice, and they saw that the child was no longer where little Bao had been lying unconscious. In its place was a huge, round, white ball of fur. What is this? Wu Qishan was furious. Where is my immortal physique? The people of the Cloud Light sect looked at each other, their expressions all filled with shock. How could the celestial physique disappear? Not to mention that the immortal spiritual body had already fainted from the sect leader's secret medicine and wouldn't wake up anytime soon. What's more, to be on the safe side, Wu Qishan used the immortal binding rope to restrict his movements. Who could steal the fairy body from right under their noses? Master, don't be fooled by that beast. The immortal physique is wrapped up by that beast. The clear voice of a woman suddenly came from outside the ruined temple. Gong Qinxue stumbled in, her hair a mess and her eyes red. As soon as she sees Wu Qishan, she kneels down with a thump, sobbing uncontrollably. Master, Master, Qinxue is useless. Junmayan's subordinates actually have a strong person who can use spiritual fire. All of us were no match for them. Qinxue risked her life to escape, but Meiling Junior's sister, she was killed by that thief. As she spoke, her body swayed and she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Junior sister. Jinfeng supported her, his face full of worry. Qinxue, how are you? Chapter 769. Jinfeng recalls the mysterious people at Mayan's side, their cultivation unfathomable, and unhesitatingly believes Gong Qinxue's words. He looks at Wu Qishan with tears in his eyes. Master, that Mayan indeed has several people with extremely high cultivation. Even this disciple is not their match. I'm afraid that Meiling died at their hands. Wu Qishan's eyes are frosty, his whole body overflowing with murderous intent. Junmayan, an insignificant mortal actually dares to kill Wu Qishan's daughter. Good, very good. His gaze turns to look at Gong Qinxue with a bit of suspicion and coldness. It's very obvious that Wu Qishan has some doubts about his daughter's death, but Gong Qinxue has escaped. But the words that come out of his mouth are, just now, you said that the immortal body was wrapped up by that beast. What do you mean? Gong Qinshue's eyes flash with a sinister cold light. Hee, sure enough, although Wu Meiling is Wu Qishan's daughter, in his heart, it's far less important than the immortal body. However, in this way, Wu Qishan and Junmayan will have an irreconcilable enmity of killing their son. Only when both of them are injured can she, Gong Qinxue, reap the benefits. However, when she raises her head, her face has already regained its sincerity. Master, this disciple has seen this fur ball. Its original form is a rabbit, but it's very strange. It can even swallow a sacred beast egg. Now, the immortal body is bound to be wrapped up and protected by it. Hearing that, Wu Qishan's gaze falls on the white fur ball, and he can't help but sneer. A mere mortal beast also wants to snatch the immortal body from me, simply overestimating its capabilities. As soon as his voice falls, the long sword in his hand is already unsheathed, fiercely chopping at the fur ball. However, the expected scene of flesh and blood splattering did not appear. Instead, Wu Qishan feels a huge recoil from the sword. His whole body takes a step back, and the big fur ball on the ground is unharmed. A pair of mung bean eyes peek out from the fur ball, looking at Wu Qishan with disdain. You want to injure this rabbit with a mere broken iron sword? Pa, this divine beast, dream on. Wu Qishan's expression is extremely unsightly. The surrounding Yunguang sect disciples look at each other, not quite understanding what's going on. Why didn't Master slash down with his sword? What they didn't know was that it was the rebound force from the fat rabbit's body that prevented Wu Qishan's sword from cutting down. Wu Qishan channeled all the spiritual energy in his body into the sword. He tried several times, but to no avail. Finally, he flew into a rage out of humiliation and roared, "All of you, attack together. Chop this beast into minced meat." The disciples of the Cloud Light sect all rushed forward, using knives and axes, and some even used fire to burn it. However, all 18 kinds of martial arts were used up. The white fur ball, on the other hand, seemed to be impervious to swords and spears. There wasn't a single scratch on it. Master, Jin Feng anxiously looked at Wu Qishan. What should I do now? Could it be that he could only watch helplessly as the immortal physique was right in front of him, but he couldn't eat it? Moreover, just where did this fur ball come from? How could it be so powerful? Gong Qinxue looked at the fat rabbit with a gloomy gaze. It was this damned rabbit that had snatched his sacred beast egg back then and had even directly swallowed it. Otherwise, how could he have fallen to such a state? Master, I don't think there's any need to chop this beast apart. Just throw this beast and the immortal physique into the alchemy furnace together to refine it. Gong Qinxue suddenly said. Chapter 770. She did not believe that this beast could even resist spiritual fire. Hearing this, Wu Qishan's brows furrowed. He did not know what breed this rabbit was, but if its body contained poison or desolate air, then the effects of the medicinal pills that were refined would be greatly reduced. But right now, he could not care less. He could not possibly let him give up on the celestial body, right? Very quickly, a Cloud Light sect disciple threw the white ball of fur into the furnace. Wu Qishan circulated his spiritual energy, activating the pill fire. Very quickly, the flame within the furnace burned fiercely. The entire furnace emitted clanking sounds. Haha, looks like even this beast cannot withstand the sect leader's pill fire. Of course, the sect leader's pill fire is a true spiritual fire. Even iron and stone can be melted in a few breaths of time, let alone a mere ball of fur. Wu Qishan's face revealed a proud expression, activating the spiritual fire and refining for a full hour. The movement within the furnace became smaller and smaller, but the top of the furnace slowly emitted green smoke. Wu Qishan took a step forward, opened the furnace lid, and looked inside. The Cloud Light sect disciples also surrounded curiously. The inside of the furnace was pitch black. There were no medicinal pills, nor was there a white ball of fur. Strange, was the pill concoction a success or a failure? Is there a black shadow at the bottom left of the furnace? What is that? Just at this moment, the black shadow below the furnace moved, suddenly revealing a pair of pea-sized eyes and a three-petaled mouth in the darkness. The three-petaled mouth slightly opened, and with a peub sound, a cloud of black gas sprayed out, instantly enveloping everyone around the furnace. "A wool, a wool, a wool." The pea-sized eyes looked at Wu Qishan in disdain. "Idiot! You want to burn this divine beast with just the lowest grade of spiritual fire? Dream on." Beside the furnace, everyone's expressions were stiff, their heads and faces black. Wu Qishan slowly touched his own face in disbelief, but what he touched was a face full of furnace ash. This was a humiliation. This was a beast, a blatant humiliation to him, the Cloud Light sect leader. "Beast, I'll kill you." Wu Qishan raised his sword, fiercely stabbing towards the black shadow inside. He wanted to skin this damned beast, pull out his tendons, and dismember his corpse into 10,000 pieces. However, just like before, his sword, his attack, and his spiritual power couldn't do anything to this beast. Even the sect leader's Dan fire can't refine this animal. What is it? What should we do now? Why don't I bring the immortal spirit body back to the cultivation continent to refine pills? Are you stupid? The immortal spiritual body passing through the barrier of space will definitely cause a huge commotion. Chapter 771. As for those who came from the cultivation continent, if they did not have spiritual energy in their body, it was equivalent to losing all of their fighting strength. The most important thing is that it could also be eroded by the Yinwu continent's barren air. Wu Qishan held the fire crystal in one hand and circulated the spiritual qi in the other. The alchemy fire that had been extinguished in the furnace burned again. "Damned beast! You forced me to do all of this." A rank 3 spirit fire can directly burn a mortal soul. In a while, you'll be burned alive in hellish torment. The moment the blazing flame crystal appeared, the fat rabbit raised its head abruptly. Shock and fear flashed across those green pea-sized eyes that were filled with disdain. He suddenly jumped up from the bottom, trying to get out of the cauldron. However, he was still a step too late. The fire crystal in Wu Qishan's hand was thrown into the furnace. At the same time, a large amount of spiritual power poured out of Wu Qishan's body and into the alchemy fire. What was originally just a small ball of flame suddenly burned fiercely. The fat rabbit only felt an intense burning pain coming from its bones and blood, coming from the depths of its soul. "Oh, Wu!" The pain made it let out a sorrowful cry. Instinctively, he let go of the person wrapped around him and tried to escape from the burning flames. As long as it exerted all its strength, it could smash a cauldron at any time. However, just as the fat rabbit let go of Xiaobao, it saw the blazing flames curling towards Xiaobao's body. The extreme heat curled Xiaobao's black hair and scorched his clothes in an instant. Although it hadn't reached his skin, the extreme heat caused the unconscious Xiaobao to sweat profusely and frown. Little Master would die. If it left just like that, the Little Master would immediately be burned to death. No, it would never allow its favorite Little Master to die. The fat rabbit didn't even think before it spread its body and wrapped Xiaobao inside. The searing pain made it wail again. His entire body was shaking violently. However, the pain did not lessen. Instead, it melted the skin and flesh on the surface of its body bit by bit. However, this time, the fat rabbit had no intention of letting go of Xiaobao. Little Master was the Little Master it had acknowledged. Even if their Little Master was still too weak, they still couldn't form a contract. But in its heart, its Little Master would always be its master. Its memory was a blur, and it had forgotten its past. It only vaguely knew that it used to be a very powerful divine beast, but it knew that it was not happy in the past. But now, every day that it spent with the She-Devil and Little Master was so happy and peaceful that it was unwilling to give up even if it had to die. Wu Qishan opened the lid and looked inside the furnace. When he saw that the fat rabbit's body was starting to become a bloody mess under the burning flames, he revealed a carefree smile. "Just you wait. In another 15 minutes, you'll completely become a pool of blood. At that time, the celestial physique will still be mine." The fat rabbit wanted to let out a fierce roar, But what came out was only a painful wail. He was going to die. This time, it was really going to die. She-devil, why aren't you here yet? If you still don't come, little master will die, and the fat rabbit will really become stir-fried rabbit meat. It was as if it was confirming the fat rabbit's call. Just as the pain was getting deeper and deeper, the fat rabbit felt that it could no longer hold on. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.